I'm Dr. Andy Pivonka with Corrective Scoliosis, and today what we're going to talk about is our 3 options for scoliosis treatment within our facility. So the main purpose of what we're trying to achieve with scoliosis patients is we're always trying to improve the structure of the spine. We're always trying to take the spine back towards normal. So we achieve this by using what's termed the corrective movement. Traditional scoliosis treatment is going to be basically geared towards just strengthening certain muscles. You know, if you go to PT, they're going to strengthen certain muscle areas, or they're going to do certain things. But there's never really an emphasis on correcting the posture, putting the spine closer to normal. So what I've got here is an example of what we use as far as corrective movement. This is a patient that we recently saw, and when we're looking at her curvature here, she's got a single curve. And the magnitude of the curve when we measured at day 1 was 43.5 degrees. So it's a pretty moderate to severe curve. Then using what we call the corrective movement, so in this instance her corrective movement was we were to shift her torso drastically to her left, and then we have her bend drastically to her right. This basically takes her spine and moves it closer to the norm. And so in this position, this is what her spine now looks like. We took her from 43.5 degrees down to 9 degrees. Okay, that's just with doing these 2 movements as big as we can. Okay, so that's pretty drastic improvement. Now, all of our options for care are designed to use that corrective movement to achieve as close to this number as we can get. So now this is a big case, so we wouldn't use chiropractic methods on this. But with smaller cases, maybe in the 20s, we would use chiropractic options. So what we would do is we would use a 3-part system. We use a system of chiropractic adjustments, which are all posturally based, which means every adjustment we make, we're going to put her in this corrected posture, and then we're going to adjust her. So we're going to either use drop table chiropractic methods, we're going to use instrument chiropractic methods, or we might even use traditional hand adjustments. But we're always going to be putting her in her corrected posture to stimulate neurology, try to create muscle memory. We're also going to use a system of exercise. The exercises will be maybe we'll put her against the block and we'll have her translate her torso drastically to the left and then combine that with a bend to the right. Have her hold these positions for 10 to 15 seconds and do upwards of 75 repetitions. Then we're going to combine that once she's good at controlling that movement. We're going to combine these movements then with movements of her own. So we might have her do cross crawl where she's doing right or left arm, right leg, and she has to hold this position as strictly as possible while she's mimicking certain activities of the day. That way, again, we're training her neurology, training her muscles to move to this position and stay there and correct her scoliosis without having to do some sort of bracing or other things with it. And then beyond that, we would also use 2 systems of traction. We're going to use a standing traction, which is basically going to be to pull her torso drastically left and then bend her to the right. We're going to have her standing, so we've got proprioception coming down through all the muscles and joints. We're stimulating neurology while she's tractioning in this position for 15 minutes. Then we're also going to use a system of traction where she's laying down across what's known as a Scully roll. And the Scully roll basically is just, it's a maximum traction effort. It's a maximum bending moment. So we're going to put a wedge up into that scoliosis, have her lay across it. It's going to bend her spine maximally in the corrected position. And then that allows us to be very specific and put very good forces into that spine to stretch the ligaments and tendons on one side, to really put stress on the growth plates on the other side, and just get as much force in there as we can. So we're going to use adjusting, we're going to use exercises, and we're going to use 2 forms of traction each time that this patient would come to the office. So that's just a chiropractic method. If you've got curves that are bigger, maybe they're in the 30s or 40s, we're then going to explore bracing options. Bracing option number 1, we would want to use the spine core brace. The spine core brace is a soft dynamic brace, and it's designed to be all about corrective movement. This brace is going to hold a patient in their corrective movement for 20 hours a day. The luxury of this brace is that it allows freedom of movement. We can wear it underneath clothing, it disappears pretty well under clothing, it allows patients to do all the range of motions that they want, but as soon as they quit moving, the brace is going to bring them back to that corrected position. So basically we're getting stress on the muscular system, the neurological system, and also the osseous system to create the correction that we're looking for. And this would be mostly for adolescents. If your curve is more severe, say it's above 40, or it's a more complicated type of curve pattern, we're then going to branch out into a more rigid brace. And this is a newer brace on the market called the Skully Brace. And what this basically represents is a rigid version of the spine core brace. This brace, compared to other rigid braces, actually puts you into your corrected posture, but it doesn't allow you to move away from it. So there's constant stress on the spine. So we're going to always have that person or that child or that adult in this position 23 hours a day, constant stress. So we always have stress on the neurological system, the muscular system, and the osseous system. We get really good corrections with this brace, okay? So basically, those are the three different options we have available here at Pivonka Chiropractic and Correct Scoliosis. I don't believe there's any other facility in the region here that has these three options available. So we are very good at taking care of scoliosis in both adolescents and adults. So if you have any questions, feel free to call our office and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you may have.